I have to remind myself to laugh at a guy's joke, but every time that I've done it, it has always paid off. My name is Malaika Neri. I'm a professional Indian matchmaker. I help smart women find the right person for marriage and family. This video is part of a series on how to identify a husband material man by using a checklist of 13 items that, if you find them, definitely go for that guy because he is a great high value man who will be a really wonderful husband and will love and support you for the rest of your life. Let's talk about having a sense of humor. Now, every guy who I've worked with has said, I want a woman who is fun. And women will say, I want a guy who has a good sense of humor. So, what is missing? Like, what is the gap between those two things? To start to understand this question, we want to ask the question, what do men understand by a sense of humor, and what do women understand by a sense of humor? So men and women have a totally different relationship to being fun, being funny, and laughter. You'll notice that a lot of guys make jokes that are not necessarily very good, and we women judge a joke based on how good it is, and therefore we only laugh if the joke is actually funny. Guys are different. Guys will just make jokes all the time. They will even make jokes that are not funny at all, that are just plain rude. This would happen to me all the time. When I first moved to the US, I was meeting all these like teenage boys who had acne and they were awkward and they had ADHD, and so they were just bouncing off the walls in the classroom, and they would make all these really strange jokes. Now, besides the fact that the US culture was really like bizarre for me and I did not understand it, and secondly, I had never been in a classroom with boys before. I'd gone to an all girls school in India. So I'd never spent any time with boys like before 6 p.m. And I just did not understand their humor. So they'd make these really awful jokes. I remember being in class with some boys who would make jokes about the Holocaust. And I was like, this was an international tragedy. Like, we don't make jokes about international tragedies in India. Why would you consider this funny? But that was how they were. That was how they had grown up. And humor was really essential to the way that men bond. So, the first thing that we need to remember as women is that men bond through making jokes, even if the jokes are awful and not funny at all. Secondly, when a guy is making jokes to you, he is trying to bond with you and create an emotional connection that will form the basis of trust and comfort so that you feel safe enough to open up to him. A guy making a joke with you is like him saying, hey, I like you and I would like to get to know you better. Here's a dumb joke. You can laugh, and that's going to break the ice, and we are going to get closer together. What do us women do? We listen to the joke, then we analyze it. Okay, was that funny? Not really. And then silence. The men interpret your silence as a threat because that is exactly what happens when you're hunting in the forest. If it's silent, that means something is off. And so they shut down because they are under threat. It is a biological response. And that is why there is no emotional connection or spark happening when you're talking to them. It's because you have missed that cue of humor, of laughing at their jokes. Recently, I met this guy, we went running together, and after the run, we went in a group run. And so after the run, he said, hey, do you want to go get a coffee? And so we were getting a coffee. And on the way walking to the little shop where we bought that coffee, he made these jokes. Now, it was like 7 o'clock in the morning. I was tired from going running. His jokes were not funny, but I forced myself to laugh because I recognized that he was trying to build a connection between the two of us. We already had a connection. We'd been talking the entire time we were running together, and he seemed like a perfectly nice guy. I was very happy to have a coffee with him, but he was telling me jokes that were not funny. So I was like, haha. And I just did this kind of fake laugh, but it worked. He opened up, he felt immediately more comfortable, and then he took me and we had a nice coffee together, and he continued making some jokes and I continued doing my fake laugh. And then he said, oh, I'd love to take you to discover all the coffee shops in the neighborhood. And I was like, sure, that sounds fun. And then we exchanged numbers. This is how you can tell that an emotional connection was successful when the guy says, I want to see you again. What we don't want to do when judging a sense of humor is number one, judge how good the quality of his jokes are. Guys are mostly making jokes with other guys, so they don't have experience making jokes with women. So if a guy is making jokes that you don't find funny, it's probably because he doesn't have a lot of experience making jokes with women. What do you do if a guy does not make you laugh? If you consider him quote unquote boring. This happened to me recently where I met this guy. I found him super attractive. He checked all of the boxes on my checklist. The only thing was missing was that he didn't make any jokes that I found funny. He didn't make any jokes at all. So I was kind of like, this is the first guy I've met who doesn't make jokes. What is going on? And I couldn't figure it out. So first time I saw him, he didn't make any jokes. Second time I saw him, he didn't make any jokes. Third time I saw him, he didn't make any jokes. I was like, huh, is he the first guy on the planet who like does not make stupid jokes? But then the fourth time I saw him, I started to understand why. I realized that he was super nervous around me. And when a man is nervous, he is not going to make jokes. He was actually spending more time observing me to decide if it was worth him coming out of his shell and taking a risk of making a joke that I would potentially not laugh at, therefore embarrassing him, than to make that joke and then risk the embarrassment anyway. So he was kind of like, let me spend time with her, get to know her, figure out if she's worth me opening up. And then, and only then, will I try out my jokes on her. So as I spend more time with him and I started paying attention to what he was saying, I realized that he was saying things that I just didn't find funny at all. And therefore, I didn't even give cues that I found it funny. And therefore, he didn't try any actual jokes. So instead, what was happening is that I was making jokes and he was laughing at them. So I was like, I don't want to make him laugh. I want him to make me laugh. So what I realized is that sometimes guys are just afraid. We women, us financially independent women, we are tough stuff. And so guys are trying to tread carefully around us and they don't want to take any risks. So if a guy is not making you laugh, he's most likely just really nervous and needs more time to open up to you. And you also need to back down and give him space to make that joke and like fake laugh if you have to, because guys really need you to laugh at their jokes. Now, coming to men who say, I want a woman who's fun. I have noticed that so many successful single men will say this, if not all of them. And I'm always like, why do you need a partner who is fun? Isn't it enough to that she works out, that she has a healthy diet, that she has a university degree, and she has a good job, and she's nice? Like, isn't that enough to be the potential future mother of your kids? Apparently not. And here is why. Life in the West is really lonely. Like, one of the major purposes of having a wife and a life partner is having someone to do fun things with. Most successful single men do not have the bandwidth to plan fun stuff to do together or to come up with new ideas of fun things to do together. And so they say, I want a partner who's fun, meaning translation from Guy Talk. They're looking for someone who, number one, is going to be up for doing spontaneous things, because successful single men are usually not spontaneous at all. Their entire lives are planned from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. at night. Secondly, they're looking for someone who does fun things that they can then tag along, because most of them don't do that much fun stuff because their lives are planned from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. And number three, they're looking for someone who will take them out of their routine, planned from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. with work, which is why they are successful six-figure single men. They are so successful, doing so well, because that is all they have been doing for the last 10 or 15 years. They have just been working. So they are looking for this breath of fresh air woman who's going to come into their lives and magically make them have more fun. What they don't realize is us financially independent women also spend the vast majority of our time working. So you might be thinking, Malika, what if I'm not fun? What if I can't bring that breath of fresh air into his life? You probably can't. Like, no one person can bring happiness to an individual. What you're going to do is contribute to a general better sense of well-being by being part of his life and like giving him your love and nurturing, and he will also look after you in a similar way. So instead, what I've done, and this has worked extremely well, is I've been super upfront with guys about what I can provide to them. Like, I consider myself a fun person, but I'm at a phase of my life where my business is growing. I spend a lot of time at work, and I don't always have the bandwidth to be spontaneous. So I say, I can do fun stuff from, 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. or from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. But I cannot do spontaneous stuff. And I definitely cannot do things that will make it difficult for me to work on my business. And guys love this because it is clear and straightforward. And that is what men need, especially successful men who are anyway used to tons of structure in their work life. They operate on a basis of transparency, knowing what to expect, and plan. So if you will communicate with them in that manner, they're like, okay, this just corresponds to the rest of my life, makes sense, cool. And when they say that they're looking for someone fun, it's not a deal breaker. It's more of an ideal, like, there's not enough fun in my life, so I want to bring more fun in by importing it via my wife. It's like, no, a wife is not a way to have more fun in life. A wife is someone with whom you can have more fun, but she's not the vector, she's not the source of that fun. I used to do this myself where I would try to make friends with people who were fun, and then they, for whatever reason, would go through a phase where they couldn't be that source of fun for me, and I'd have to make new friends. Eventually, I realized I'm just going to do things that I find fun and find people who want to do those things with me. And this turned out to be a way more sustainable way of having more consistent fun in my life. And these guys will eventually learn that lesson too, if you share mutual interests, which is why it's so key to have a clearly defined ideal partner profile in which you talk about your lifestyle values and mindsets and the specific activities that you can consistently do with a partner, such as hiking or riding a bicycle together, or even working out at the gym, that would be fun for both of you, that would build that sense of we are having a nice time together, this is so much fun, and would also deepen your emotional connection because both of you are doing the same thing at the same time, and both of you think, wow, this is so fun. So having a good sense of humor, it's something that we women look for, but that guys interpret in a different way. They want you to laugh at their jokes, not for you to actually be funny. And they actually are looking for a woman who is fun, fun, not funny, which they think you're going to be the planner for all of their fun and interesting activities. No, you're not. Let the men do the planning. Don't lead. Make sure that they are using their masculine energy to plan and organize stuff for the two of you to do together, and just clearly communicate to them when you are available to engage in these fun activities alongside them. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to check out the other videos in this series on husband material men, click through and watch the rest of the playlist. If you'd like the full PDF on who makes a husband material man, click the link below. It's completely free. It's my gift to you. I will see you in the next video.